sectioning out those corners, because what's really important is the hairline when it comes to the curls, because that's where the curl pattern usually shifts. And we want to make sure that behind here is going to stay more on the square side, but then the rest of the shape is going to stay round. So I'm going to keep this section out. And now it's really important when you're doing this too is you want to maintain really good body position. So I am going to sit for this. And me and Cassie already discussed, we love her bob. Her sweet spot is right at the base of her neck. So we're going to take about an inch off here. So we're going to start with our horizontal partings. Get our sections nice and clean.
So you kind of like pre-sectioned into, would you call these like panels?
Yeah, so I would say, so this is called our octagonal sectioning if you ever took IQ. So what this is going to do is it's going to really contribute to the swing of the hair so that we don't get these thick spots that usually happen when you cut a bob.
So you got the side, the front out of the way, and then the back is kind of pivots off the crown?
Yep, right off of the high point of the head, you can see.
Okay.
So now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to use the teeth of my comb to hold with tension for her hair under here. Reason being is that curl shrinks and stretches a lot. So you want to make sure that you're not using your fingers to do that. Otherwise you're going to get too much shrinkage. Another reason why you want to do this as well is that when the curl pattern changes, and you'll see as I move along to each section, is that her curl is tighter right here in her the corner sections. So if I use my teeth, it will mimic the same tension across the back.
It's pretty common for the curl to get like tighter towards the front, in my experience.
Yes, for sure.
So you have to sometimes just treat it a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm. It has its own area code, so you want to almost cut it differently as you're working across.
So I see you've chosen to cut damp. You know, obviously a lot of people maybe prefer to cut curly hair dry. Why do you choose damp? Do you ever use dry? What's your thought there?
So sometimes I cut curly hair dry. I do typically cut curly hair wet. The reason being is I want to see the overall shape and have more of a round canvas as we're going to make more of a structured shape. When I go in after it's dry, it's more just to sculpt and not to actually create a structured haircut.
So you like to put in a strong, detailed shape, wet, you can control it, be more accurate, then you do some drawing, and then you do some dry cutting after it's dry, sculpting. Yes. Yeah. I think, you know, that, again, that's an approach that's been around and been useful for very, very long. And I think sometimes people who think about right and wrong, like, oh my God, you always have to cut curly hair dry. I think that's limiting yourself a little bit.
It also depends. Curly hair is different fabric depending on which curl you have too. So baby fine curls, they grow into such a different fabric when they're dry. So a lot of times with my baby fine curly girls, that's when I'll end up cutting their hair dry just because they always wear it that way.
So if there's a huge difference to you from wet to dry, sometimes you think dry might work, but if you feel like you can control that curl wet, then you go with it.
Yes.
Awesome. You got some friends out here. Let's see. I want to say Rachel as opposed to Rachel Freschetti Webb.
Oh, Rochelle.
Oh, Rochelle. Okay. I always slaughter the names.
Her.
I don't know
She's
why.
all
All the people who comment always have the most difficult names to pronounce. That's just yeah. She calling you the goat.
I love her.
And we had some other friends watching from Brazil.
Awesome.
Let us know where you're watching from, guys. And if you have questions for Sage, she's a cutting educator as well as did you own a salon?
I own a salon in Cherry Hill, yes.
Yeah, as well as a salon owner. So she's got lots of things that she can discuss here. She's working on Cassidy, who you're a hairdresser as well, yeah?
Yes.
So you're working with Sage, learning the craft.
Yes.
How's that going?
It's going great.
Excellent.
I've actually been cutting her hair since she was 10 years old, so we've been molding her from the beginning.
There you go.
She's only 11 now.
Groomed to be a hairdresser.
So now as I'm working off of this corner, you'll see that I am going a little directional forward, just so that that shrinkage, you can see where it's already popping up, that it's technically longer if I was to measure this out, but it's shrinking to be shorter or right on line with this. So it's really important to know your curly girl's hair like a fingerprint, right? So as you've had this client for a while, which like I said, I've been doing Cassie's hair since she was 10. I know where her shrinkage is, which you can already see that curl definition instantly happening right in that corner.
So you're cutting just a little bit, in simplest terms, downhill here, just to make it a little bit longer?
Yeah. And that way when it dries, it's going to all look unison. I also switched to the wide teeth of my comb as I'm going through in here. So that way it allows for that curl pattern to already start while I'm pulling that hair down into that section.
Jen Fulton says she feels great knowing that, she cuts hair in the same way, wet to dry, curly hair. And again, it's like I like to say that there's so many different ways to work with hair, and we should all embrace and learn them all, and never say don't do this and don't do that.
Well,
just figure out how to do it all well.
It's just like, originally hair was only cut with a razor, right? And then it was don't ever cut it with a razor. Everything's a tool in the toolbox, so you can use what you use, and for each fabric it's going to be different. A big thing that I'm going to show too when I'm done here is how to debulk Cassidy's curls, and if I were to do that on her dry hair, that would cause frizziness within her hair strand. So for the technique I'm going to show, it has to be wet.
So with these, I guess it's like 4 panels in the back here. What did you say the terminology was that you used?
So it's octagonal sectioning.
With this octagonal sectioning, what's the thought? Is it about the shape of the head to break it down
So
into?
it's about the swing. So if I was to cut on her side, where everything is a flat square panel, I don't have to worry about the hair moving anywhere.
Right.
But where the shift is this back corner area. So if it's not addressed in its own little bit, what would happen here is I might get more of an A-line bob as I'm working if I were to keep it square across the back. And I want this to look even all the way as we go.
It makes a lot of sense. I can't say that I've ever seen this exactly before. I know it's from the KMS cutting system, of which you're one of the educators, but I'm not super familiar with it. But it does make a lot of sense in terms of the head shape, your body position, and as you said, the swing.
Yes.
Because that hair is going to move differently from different points on the head.
Well, and as you've seen too, I've moved her so she is directly in front of me. So if I were to work, and you'll see, for example, let's pretend we just cut this all in one panel, right? And I was to bring all of this hair over.
Yeah.
If I were to cut here, I'm conserving so much more length, which is then going to cause so much more weight behind her ear. So that's why I'm taking out that mini corner section to address it in the same manner that I'm cutting everything else, so everything stays
Do you
together.
tend to cut your bob seated? You're seated on like a cutting stool?
Always.
Tell me why you like to do that.
The reason why I like to do that is you can see ergonomically, I'm not bent over. I'm not trying to flip over to see my position. Everything is going to stay level and balanced, whereas if I was standing, I'm probably going to turn my body to look at what I'm doing. And also, for her, I want to make sure that I'm not going to flip anything out. And a lot of times we can never get the chair high enough, especially if you're tall. I'm very tall. So if I were to do that and then take my fingers and flip this, we're causing graduation, which is going to cause a completely different shape.
Yeah, good stuff. So tell me a little bit about your relationship with the brand KMS. Our Hairbrain fans know that I've always been a big supporter of KMS, the education, the educators, the product, which I find very innovative and constantly evolving. I've always loved the packaging, and I have seen some of the education with people like Sana and others. So what's your KMS story?
So my KMS story, I went to hair school starting, it was over 15 years ago now at this point. I went for my high school actually. And I've always worked with KMS as a brand. And my first year of cutting in the salon, I was approached to take a KMS class. And I had no idea that being an educator was something that was even in this realm of hairdressing. So it was my first time being exposed. And it was actually with Amadeo. And we talk about this every time that we work together because now he's my coworker, which is very cool. And it was one of the most exciting classes I ever took. It was a braiding class. And it got me just very passionate about what I was doing with hair. And when I was new to styling, I didn't have to worry about picking a product and then messing up as an assistant one of the stylist's hair because it's very versatile and you really can't mess it up. And there's also something for everybody's hair texture. And now coming from a stylist or a salon owner standpoint, I only have to carry 2 brands, and it's Goldwell and KMS in the salon because it accommodates literally everybody, and it's such a great price point for all of my clientele and myself. It's what I use personally
And
as well.
Goldwell and KMS and also Orbe are part of the Cow Salon brand. So it's Cow's the parent company, and these are their professional brands, and all the educators kind of work together. And we're here. I'll give a quick up view of this is one of the academy rooms here. You can see we're on the stage. We've got some of the staff sitting and working, but here we are. This is a fantastic place. I mean, I encourage anyone who wants to come to New York for education to look on the Cow Salon Academy site and see the classes that are available from the different brands within the family. I know they've even hosted other people. We've had Sharon Blaine hosted here. So I think it's a fantastic educational facility, and it's probably one of the coolest spots in the world in the meatpacking district. Okay, it looks like you've moved on to layering.
Yeah, so now we're going to layer the shape. So we like to, and I want to show you guys this wet so you can see the structure of her curls and how well they're laying. So we love keeping a square perimeter here in the back. And you can see how since we did those corners, we have no triangular protrusion happening because we did accommodate right there, and it's going to be one even line. But now we want to make this more of a full bubbly shape because she does like having a perky, bubbly hairdo when we're done. So we're going to be taking pivoting sections off of that high point of the head, and we're going to be cutting 90 degrees round. But now because we're cutting curls, I'm not going to come through and just cut this all in one shape. I like to point cut this as I come over and not necessarily make it so even because curls are not even. So I'm going to travel 90 degrees following the head shape, coming off of that same pivoting section.
So the sections are pivoting off the crown. Would you say you're cutting kind of a rounded line? Is that how you would describe it?
Keeping a square base, but a round layered shape on top.
And why choose that particular cutting angle as opposed to flat to the head or lifting and cutting concave? What for you is the benefit of this particular cutting angle?
I feel like for me personally, I know when I style her, I like to see this uniform all over. So if I'm putting this in, it's like if you were to slice an orange peel. It's going to keep all of my sectioning and her cut in general very uniform. And it's not, I don't have to go back and cross-check anything.
So it's like the same amount of layer from where you start to the top as opposed to getting longer or getting a lot shorter.
Yes.
So that's what you mean by uniform.
Yes.
I think sometimes people call the rounded layer like a uniform layer. Yeah, there's so much terminology.
I know every system has its own
Yeah.
term, and it's like you've probably seen it before, but you might, in the language, might have heard it differently.
Oh, I came, this is my 31st year as a hairdresser, and, there's always new language there's always a young educator who feels like they're going to come up with the perfect language, and I was that many years ago, and then I realized, you know what? For me, it doesn't matter what you call it what you want. Let's get it done, and let's learn how to do it, and take it from there.
That's just like language in general, right? All of my young clients, they teach me all terms that I've never heard of before, and it's hard to describe the same
I had my dog in a big park, and there was a bunch of, I don't know, like 10-year-old girls, like kind of doing what 10-year-old girls do, and one of them kept saying that the other one, "Oh, why are you being so sus?"
Yes, sus was one of them.
And it took me a minute. I'm like, okay, look, what does that mean? And I'm like, okay, well, the kids, she's walking away and like talking to, maybe it means like suspect? Is that like, means you're doing something like, what?
A little bit shady.
A little bit shady, yeah. We would have said shady. They say sus. So it's always evolving, just like hair cutting.
It is. So now we're going to take this around the back, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to debulk after we finish this shape, because now my layering technique is going to change in the front. Again, because now we're no longer working off of a round, we're going to be working off of a square.
So did you set the guideline in the center, and then you pivoted right and pivoted left and just kind of followed it around?
Yep.
Straight out from the head, or what sometimes people would call on base, or
90 degrees from the
or
head
90
to,
degrees, or
all of that jargon. Okay.
no real over direction.
No.
Yeah.
So now you can see, I want you to show this.
Sure.
So her heavy spots, and I know this from doing her hair, is all right here, but we like her weight line still in the middle. So it's only in her corners do we want to get rid of the fullness in there. So we're just going to take a section of hair, nothing too thick, but just enough to see her curl pattern, right? So this is why we like to do this wet, because sometimes if it wasn't styled right that day dry, or if it's not humid, the curl is going to change. So we know her curl is going to be wet every single time. And now where there's these like full spots in here, we're just going to take our shear and just talk into the belly of the curl, just to eliminate a little bit of weight in the individualized curl pattern. So this is
not closing all the way, you're just kind of opening and closing gently without closing all the way. And
this is where a really sharp shear comes in handy.
What are you working with? What do you like to use?
These are Taras, so I really love them. They are on the more expensive side, but I've had them for a really long time, and they were something when Cassidy first came to me from hair school, she was so proud of the shears that she had, which, you know, was her first pair. She invested, and her first, 2 months of working, I wanted her to try more of a big girl shear, you know, and it was insane the difference, right, Cassidy?
Tools make a difference. They absolutely do.
And a funny story with that is that I was like, all right, here you go. I gave it to her like the caliber sword, right? Don't drop these. These are your life. You're never going to get another pair. A week later, I dropped her shears. So,
well, that's where you need a good service, good sharpener to come in. Okay, so holding these out, bending, looking at the S and the C and kind of picking somewhere within the pattern.
And you don't want to ever go too high to the scalp.
Sure.
So the reason being is that you don't want that hair to shoot straight out, right? So I just want to take out, and I'm alternating, going a little bit higher, a little bit lower. And what that's going to do is give that curl a little bit more of an individual curl pattern as well.
Now, do you feel like this is taking away weight or adding volume or adding, sometimes it's hard to kind of pinpoint exactly. Will it make the hair flatter? Will it make it fuller?
So it's going to kind of do it all, which is a weird thing to say, I know. But for her, getting rid of these little notches, it's like if you're a gardener out there and watching, it's what you would call to aerate the soil. So I'm aerating her curl so that her curl can individualize. A lot of times if you don't do this, then what will happen is the curl will stay as a full grouping and she can't get that volume up on top. For her, she gets interior bushiness, so her ends stay really nice, but in here stays really fluffy. So it's really important that we do this about like 1.5 inches from the scalp, because that's where she feels her bulkiness. And Cassidy, what did you say to me earlier about your highlights today?
That the lightener had expanded into my root, and I was like, holy crap, I really need debulking now because I am thick.
She never realized, because I have fine hair, that I like my highlights because it makes my hair fuller. And since she's new to being a blonde, she was like, I finally know what you mean by it being so full after being blonde.
Yeah, it kind of swells up the cuticle and adds texture and volume. If you're just joining us, welcome. We're here at the Cow Salon Academy in downtown Manhattan in the Meatpacking District with a special demonstration from Sage Kinney. She's a national educator with KMS. KMS, Goldwell, and Orbe are part of the Cow Salon family. She's teaching some technical curly cutting, and I think we see a lot of freehand sculpting these days. It's very popular and we love that, but there's also room for technical, and I think you're showing the benefits. Like, you couldn't really do a lot of what you're doing on dry hair because it would just get all thatched out. You kind of have to just sculpt it out in the air.
And it would be very raw. If I did this along her dry, I would be crossing my fingers as to what it's going to look like after I wash it and restyle it.
Yeah.
So now what I'm doing here, so you see that I didn't take anything 90 degrees here. So this is what we call in our KMS cutting is horizontal layering. So the reason we're doing this is that we want to maintain fullness on her width, but then right underneath is to where I couldn't get any more length going.
All right, so let's go over this again. You have a natural parting.
So you have her part.
And you started a guideline. Does that connect to the crown? Did
So
you
it
use?
is. So I'm going to take a horizontal section.
Yeah.
We're going to come over to the complete opposite side.
Yep.
Now my guide came from here. So this was the high point of the head. So you can see that when I took this over, now we cut everything. We have one little piece that I forgot. Then we're going to take another horizontal section, and we're going to continue grabbing hair in that horizontal parting until there's no more hair to cut. And what this is going to do is it's going to conserve a weight line right in her perimeter, which is where on curly short hair looks the best. So her biggest thing is she hates to look like Betty White with a roller set, because that's how she likes to describe it when her hair is cut completely round.
Rest in peace, Betty White.
And so when we do this, it gives her fullness in all the right places, but without making her super full down here. Now, what we're going to do from underneath the parietal ridge is we're going to take those 90-degree partings. And now when you do this in cutting, this removes the most weight when you take 90-degree layers. So this way she doesn't expand and get dog ears.
So is that disconnected from what was done on top of it?
A little bit,
yeah.
yes.
So that'll just drape over it.
And then these short layers are going to push these short layers so she'll get volume up here, but elongation on her sides.
It's nice to see, you know, some design within, not just, you know, kind of winging it. I love that.
And she's very protective of her side, so we want to make sure we're conserving as much length as possible. But her side is also where she gets a little weight right here above the ear. So we're only going to do that aerating technique right along the ear. And then nothing right in her front.
It seems like a very gentle technique too. I mean, you're
Yes.
very deliberate and just, I mean, have done it very, very soft-handedly.
Yeah, so you don't want to pull on the hair, and that's a big thing. So if you feel that you're snagging the hair, and you do have a good pair of shears, so it's not the fact that your shears are dull, you want to make sure that you're keeping the hair nice and saturated, or you're using a cutting lotion. The moisture repair leave-in spray is really good.
Is that something that you used here?
So I don't have that out here. She didn't need it. What I did use though is I used the Goldwell Curly and Wave shampoo and conditioner with the Just Smooth conditioner. And instead of rinsing all of the conditioner out, we left some of it in. So that's going to create a nice conditioning base for her curls.
Yeah, I mean, choosing the right shampoo and conditioner before cutting, especially any kind of texture cutting, I think makes such a difference. I think sometimes people just go on automatic pilot and they don't really think about it, but
it's like an all for one, and
yeah.
Shampoo isn't all for one. You know,
Right.
It's not just changing the label on it. And we needed that Just Smooth because in the curls and waves, it's meant to kind of reseal that cuticle down, but it left the hair a little bit too squeaky clean for me, so I put the Just Smooth on top of it because it left it with some slip. So again, we're ending our squares layering right at the parietal ridge so that we can go back underneath and come back to that 90-degree layering.
some love from Kathy Nelson. She loves this, loves learning something new after 43 years of doing hair. Thank you.
I love that. Thanks, Kathy.
I'm gonna come around here so we can see.
And just skimming those baby ends off.
We are here in the academy. You can see in the back it's kind of set up for the stage presentation, but there are all kinds of stations that roll out here for workshops. So again, if you want to come, you know, we were just having this conversation the other day, there aren't too many academies anymore. And I said, you know, hey, there's the Goldwell Cow Salon Academy in the Meatpacking District, which is just still a fantastic location and a fantastic curriculum.
Okay, now the last little twist I like to do, and this is just something I do no matter what texture it is. It's my little chef's kiss to my haircuts. But I always in the part line, especially because she's not one of those protractor parters, you know, where your client takes the comb from you and puts their own part in. She messes it up a little bit. So I like to take where I took that central vertical parting, take all of that hair straight up, leave about an inch, and I just notch into that. So it's not about taking length, but what that's going to do is it's almost going to allow that hair to seam together. So no matter where the hair parts, it's always going to have a place to sit.
You can see the transformation in the shape. I mean, lovely. It's like lean in the temples, has some volume through the top. Very,
and then
very nice.
all we're going to do in here, she told me do not take too much off of my face frame or else. So I've got to come in here and we're just going to, where she's a little bit thicker, we're just going to come and we're going to go right into the belly of these face framing curls, just so that they separate a little bit around her temple.
A few questions about your shears. You said they're Tara, that's T-A-R-A?
Yep. Yeah. And these ones are really nice. This is their standard shear. It's a very sharp blade. The finger hole is really nice because it doesn't allow your thumb to slip in too far, so you can really do a lot of palm-to-palm cutting with it. It was the most comfortable shear for Cassidy to work with, and she has very tiny hands. And the weight of the shear is nice because I don't feel like I'm going to drop it. I feel like if the shears are too light, I'm going to like throw it across the room. It's just like my cooking utensils. I like a little bit of a heavier utensil.
Yeah, it's a very personal thing. you know, shears, scissors, combs. You're using a YS Park comb, looks like a 339.
Yes.
Again, a little bit more expensive, but you can feel the difference in the quality.
Well, and what's nice is that these combs, we're pretty rough with our tools, both of us, and we haven't broken one of these combs yet, which is nice. And
Well,
dealing with all the curls that we haven't broken a tooth at all, which on a lot of the cheaper combs, on some of my really, really curly girls, that's something that happens all the time. Are we ready to style her?
I'm ready if you're ready. Shape looks great.
All right.
Looks like
And
a
you guys
great
can
little
see that
lesson.
even as it's drying, so this is raw, no product, no nothing. And a big thing, until this point, you guys notice I didn't zhuzh anything yet, right? The reason is I don't want to zhuzh one side, then cut it again, and now I'm cutting it in two different curl patterns.
So is that a KMS technical term, zhuzh?
No, that is a Sage Kinney term.
Okay. Okay.
So we're just going to go in here and now see where anything is out of whack.
Let the zhuzhing
Let
begin.
the zhuzhing begin, and you can see how straight across that is and how she maintains that strong line.
Yeah.
But then all of the aeration everywhere.
A beautiful, simple shape. And when I say simple, I mean it as a compliment. You know, you don't, sometimes simple shapes are the best, most effective. It
Yes.
doesn't need to be completely abstract all the time.
Now we're just re-moistening this down. So when it comes to styling curly girls, your best friend is water, aside from whatever product you're going to put in. If the hair doesn't have enough moisture in it to start, you're going to be fighting it the whole rest of the time. So then what we're going to put in is you really want a great leave-in conditioner so that your hair can drink that up, because curly girls are naturally thirsty. So what's nice about the Moisture Repair Revival Cream is that Cassidy could put this whole bottle on her hair and she would never get greasy, and it's just going to constantly soak into the interior of her hair. And the key with not getting a crunchy curl is as long as you have a very good conditioning base underneath, none of that crunch can exist, no matter what product you use. So the key to curls is how good your leave-in conditioner is. So now all we're doing is we're applying that from root to ends everywhere. And we're gonna keep this, we could complicate her curly style, but we really don't need to, because we do like the fullness. You just wanna make sure it's a really nice slip. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to section out that nape area. And this is something we teach all of our curly clients at home, because we predominantly have mostly curly clients. And the key to curls is you want to section. If you put all your product from the top and expect it to ever get underneath of here, you're crazy. Like, it's never going to reach. This is the most dense area. So you want to make sure that you at least section it in half. Then we're going to use our Curl Up Wave Foam. This is one of my favorite curly products, and we usually order it and it's gone by the end of the week. So we cannot keep this on our shelves. It's great if you're going to air dry, great if you're going to diffuse, great if you're going to blow it out straight. So it's a very versatile product. It starts out as a gel, then you'll see that it starts to emulsify into a foam. So you're getting the best of both worlds when it comes to sculpting and hold and control of a gel, but the volume of a mousse.
I've always found the KMS products to be very kind of technically evolved, like
Yes.
the categories, and you know, it's not just mousse, gel, and hairspray. There's lots of hybrids and interesting concepts, and I love that.
And I've worked for the company for 10 years, and it's constantly evolved, and not just to have something cool, it's to have something that works. And I'm a super nerd when it comes to products and chemicals and different things like that. And when they describe it and it actually does what it is supposed to do, it's one of the most mind-blowing things. So now I'm taking it into a midsection, so right into her, underneath her parietal area.
More of the curl up.
More of the curl up, and the more product, the better. So that's one of the biggest things. When I'm teaching my curly girls how to be curly for the first time, you want to make sure that if you're still frizzy after you've set your curl, you didn't use enough product. So we're coming through, and Gerard, if you want to feel this, you can feel how slimy this is. So the audience can't tell, but it's going to be, you want there to be a slime coating on this hair.
You know, I have curly hair, and I've worked with curly hair many times, but I really started to understand the finishing a bit more when I did some training on like type 4 curl and the like wash and go.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, really understanding how to saturate. Like, you don't just take a little dollop of product. It's if you really want it to work, it's got to saturate from root to end.
Well, and if you want longevity,
Yeah.
you can do a lot with no product and make it. Cassidy's curls, they're perfect curls. We really don't have to work at that. But if we didn't do all of this product layering, she's getting one day and that's it. Whereas with everything that we do, and she does this herself at home all of the time, is she'll get a week, sometimes a week and a half out of her curls.
What?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The less I gotta wash, the better.
You know it's getting towards the end of the week because we usually put braids in it, and then that gives her another 5 to 7 days out of her curls.
So let's talk a little bit about this relationship. So Cassidy's your assistant, your apprentice. What? You know, it's such a wonderful thing in our industry that I think is maybe in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Tell me about
I
how
agree
this
with that,
how
for
this
sure.
happened for you guys.
So I have been doing her hair since she was 10 years old because obviously her and her sister, they have the tightest curls on the planet. Her mom has loose waves. So her mom brought her to our salon that I was at before because we were a curly hair salon. And we've been teaching the girls how to love their curls since they were little so that they didn't have to flat iron it while it was wet, like this girl used to do with her hair. And yes, we're getting somewhere. And when I moved out to Denver and moved back, and she was graduating high school, and her ideas of life were just not ideal for me when I saw so much potential in her. So I was like, you're going to hair school, as if I was her mom. She was like, my mom won't let me. And I was like, your mom's going to let you. Her mom came in for her touch, and I said, Cassie's going to hair school. And she did.
The power of the hairdresser.
Yes,
She
for
holds
real.
a lot of it.
Okay, flip over real quick. So I want to show you guys this real quick. So the flip is key with curls. So you want to give a good whip to the hair to get it all uniform. And I'm taking a little bit of styling foam, the Add Volume styling foam, and emulsifying that in my hands. And you hear that squish? That's when you know that that is going to be amazing. And
It's like
awesome.
fully saturated.
It's fully
Yeah.
saturated. If you don't have that squish,
Great tip.
Yes.
Great little tip right there.
So you want to hear that. If it's not that, you know you put a lot of product, the missing ingredient is water. If it's still not doing that after you put water in it, then you don't have enough product. And then we would start right away with a diffuser. So we're going to use our Veris diffuser, not Deveris.
So this is also part of the Cal family. They make tools, the Varis blow dryer.
Yep. And what we're going to do, we do not want volume here. So what we're going to do is just increase the volume in the front and step down from the stage. And we're going to just cup those curls right into that diffuser. Really getting into the crown. And we're going to be moving Cassidy around a lot to get these perfect curls. We have reclining, we have barbering chairs in our salon, and not to barber, but to bring our curls backwards so that we can get, one, our client more comfortable in the chair while we're diffusing, and two, so we can get the bottom if we need to zhuzh those curls up even more. And we're going in at high heat, high power. You don't want to spend too much time diffusing, so if you can get it done quicker, that is definitely the key. And now while we're diffusing this, so Cassidy went to hair school. She actually finished hair school during COVID and almost quit because hair school was, difficult while we were all locked up.
Yeah, it's like the first time ever hairdressers had to learn from home,
Yeah, so she became the YouTube hairdresser real quick.
Yeah.
And so I had opened my own salon during COVID, and I said, just be patient, go finish school. You cannot come work for me until you finish school. And she did. She graduated last February, and now she's been apprenticing under me. She now has her own chair behind the salon, and she's been killing it. She comes on tour with me, and she assists everybody on show. She's been getting a really awesome start to her hair career.
It's great to hear it. Again, it used to not be that uncommon to hear a story like that. I mean, that's how I started my career. That's how many people did. But things have changed, for better or worse. And a lot of times people just go to school and then they just kind of go out on their own and see what happens.
Well, Cassidy, and she could tell you, but you won't hear her under the dryer, a lot of the people she graduated with always swipe up on her, and they're like, I wish that I got to do what you do. Like, they didn't get that journey, and they are struggling. A lot of them are waitresses now. They're not doing hair yet.
Yeah, there's definitely room for apprenticeship in our craft, and I hope that, more people will keep it alive.
So now this is the next move you want to do with your client. So you want to kind of go up to the side, one, so you don't end up burning her neck, and two, you can start working onto the side and back. curls are bundling beautifully.
So, other than, helping you day to day in the salon, what's the training like? What are you doing in the salon to train Cassidy?
So Cassidy, when she first started working for me, I took her right to IQ. So she actually came here to the academy to get IQ training.
And that's the KMS cutting system. It's what you've shared with us a little bit today.
And I wanted her to do that. She's actually taken it now twice, once here, and then over with me again when I've taught different sections in different salons. Education's required, so we're going to be here for Master Colorist next month together as a team. I try to bring her to all of these things all the time. We have little monthly meetings that we talk about where she needs to improve and what she needs to do. And right now she's been focusing on men, so she's been bringing men in, and we've been doing a lot of men's haircuts, which she's been killing lately. Flip over. A big thing too is, and this is one thing with new stylists, so I know that not everyone wants to do social media, but she was afraid to talk on camera for a while, and one of our salon is so big right now just because of my social media presence and our Google presence, and I really encouraged her. One of her requirements is that she has to make a reel, that she has to show her confidence on social media alone too, and I would say that's really brought her further as a hairdresser also, because she knows that she has to do things perfect, so her finishing's gotten better because she has to put this online, and that's been more of her credibility, I would say. Would you say that? Yeah, okay.
It's an interesting combination of the classic concept of apprenticeship and then the modern concept of social media. A lot of people thought, I don't need to be an apprentice, I'll just get popular on social media, but sometimes you're just missing the experience.
Yeah.
You can't teach that,
And another thing too, I told her, I'm going to give you all the tools and I will let you do what you need to do, but you will build your own book. I think it's the same concept if you have kids, which I do not, but enough kids in the salon. The things that were bought as children you don't value as much as the things you buy yourselves. So for her, I was like, you can do whatever, you can take whatever class you want to take, but if you're not constantly posting and promoting yourself, I'm not going to do that for you. I will help you, but I'm not going to create it.
So how far do you go with the diffusing? Are you of the 100% dry school? Do you like to leave a little dampness in the hair?
When I am working on a curly client, and they were to leave, then I would dry this fully. Now Cassidy diffuses about 10-15 minutes, and then she lets her hair air dry the rest of the time, usually by the time she gets to work. And it depends on the weather. If it's raining outside while I'm working on a curly client, I only diffuse about 10-15 minutes so that it doesn't frizz back up when they go outside. But for hair, that's what's nice about these products too, is that they blow dry in really quickly, considering how much product we put into the hair. And what's nice about all of the styling products in KMS, they're all heat protected. So you don't think of your gels and mousses as having heat protected in there. And curls really need to be protected from the heat. That's what causes the dryness, that's what's causing the frizz. So it's good to make sure that with even diffusing her hair, she is getting that kind of perfection.
Would you mind going over the products you used again? A few people now are seeing the result and saying, what did you use?
Of course. So we started with Goldwell's Curl and Waves shampoo and conditioner to do her start, and we finished with the Just Smooth conditioner and left that partially in her hair. That's one of our go-to summer conditioners in the salon for all of our curly girls. Then we use the Moisture Repair Revival Cream. That's going to be your base. So that's what's going to keep that curl from being crunchy when we're done. And that's going to get rid of all of the frizz as this dries. Then we put a ton of the KMS Wave Foam in her hair to give it that swish noise and that perfect coupling, and it gives it the volume. And then we finished with scrunching in the Add Volume Styling Foam. And that's just going to give us a little bit more bounce, just a little bit more oomph. Head over to the side. So she's almost dry, and then I'm going to show a finishing product that I always do on curls. Is our defrizz oil and a little bit of the control cream as well. And that's more so, I like to show that at the end, even though it's perfect now, but I
And then what would you recommend for a client? I mean, it's a considerable amount of product that you used, obviously, and you can see the benefit of every single one. Would you really encourage your client to try to purchase all of them, or?
So if they were only, the ones that I say they cannot live without is your leave-in conditioner and a setting product.
Right.
So it would be your if you had to pick two, it would have to be your Revival Cream and your Wave Foam. And if you only left with one, your leave-in conditioner is what gets rid of frizz. It's not your styling product. It's just the styling product gives you the longevity from day to day.
So the leave-in conditioner creates the moisture, gets rid of the frizz and the dryness, and then the styling product, in this case, the curl up, it gives you the structure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not crunchy.
No crunchy. And you can touch it if you'd like. Just tell everybody I'm not lying.
That feels wonderful. Yeah. I mean, you can see it on camera. It's beautiful. Beautiful
And she
product.
actually has shine. Most of the time you don't have shine with curly hair.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look wet. The wet look with curls is out. It's more of that raw finish look and even more constructed frizz. So like, frizz that was intentional looks good right now.
If you're just joining us, we're getting close to the finish here. We've been with Sage Kinney. She's done a beautiful haircut here using some very simple technical approaches that if you missed it, I recommend when we're done, you go back and watch. All these videos are saved here on our Facebook page. We've probably got close to 800 lessons now with great educators from all over. Today we're at the Cow Salon Academy, which is part of Goldwell, KMS, Orbe, doing constant education here, and she's coming in for a finish now. So what are we going for now?
Okay, so this is what we're gonna do when we open up the curls. So if she were to air dry, her hair would have more of what we call a cast. So it would look crunchier and it would have this more matte finish to it. So when you're opening up the curls, that's what's going to give the softness. So what we're going to do is we're gonna use a little bit of KMS's Control Cream, which is more of like a curl paste. And you would think it'd be really thick and sticky, but it's very creamy. So it's a finishing
face cream almost.
leave-in conditioner almost, which is awesome. And then I like to add a little bit of defrizz drops in there as well. This is just an anti-humectant. It's amazing before, after, during your curl service. This is definitely a beach bag product if you need something to take with you if you're going to be in the ocean a lot and you have curls. We're going to emulsify that together. And then you're going to pet the curls and then zhuzh them up. So the key is that you don't want to ever put your fingers through the curls, obviously, because that would brush them out, but you don't have to be so gentle with them. So you want to control the curl. So I'm just kind of smoothing that curl, letting it bounce, and any little frizzies that would have happened while I was diffusing are going to be taken away. And if she had that cast from air drying, that would break it up to make her hair nice and soft.
Jenna Sutherland is asking about the diffuser. It is a Varus diffuser going with the Varus blow dryer, and yes, it collapses, which is nice and convenient for travel.
And it's really great if you say you were traveling and you don't want to bring your blow dryer. This fits on almost any blow dryer. So if you just needed to take this, you could, which is awesome.
So just Google Varus, V-A-R-I-S blow dryers. They're sold through Goldwell, perhaps the local distributor.
Can I show one more quick little technique if you were going to do day 2 on this, because this is a big one that a lot of people don't realize. So for day 2, and this is something Cassidy does do, she'll be doing this tomorrow, is when she wakes up, this is her fuzzy side, obviously, right? Because she's a side sleeper. You guys don't know that, but I do. So she would be a little bit fuzzy here. So what you're going to do, these products, why I love them so much is they're good for wet, dry, second day, first day. You can use them at any time. You're going to take now a little bit, so not the same amount as when we started. You're going to break it down with a little bit of water first, mist her, and then lean over to the side cast. And then all that cast does is she just takes her hand, cups that in, and most of the time she doesn't even re-diffuse. She then lets that air dry come back. But if you wanted to, you could re-diffuse, but you can even see how that just brought back anything that I deconstructed when we opened it in the first place. And that's how she goes the whole week with her curls. So she's had, so much weight foam by the end of the week on a regular basis.
Fantastic shape, looks beautiful. It's settled into a really pretty finish.
So great.
Wonderful, lots of love coming in. People really appreciate the lesson and love your hair, Cassidy, and the shape and the finish.
Yeah, genetics are her friend here.
So where can people find you and follow you and learn more from you? And
Yes,